All right, I think we are going to be live literally any second now. I'm going to go to my channel to just make sure that it's happening. Yeah, we're live. Hi.
Are you telling me hi or everyone
Yes,
is
I'm
watching?
telling you hi, Rahul. We're live on my channel now. It always takes me like full 45 seconds to make sure that we are live on the channel, but I know now we are because there's 5 people watching us and some people have started
Ah,
commenting as well. Hi.
hi, and hi everyone who's coming in slowly. Hmm.
So, welcome to my channel, everyone, and welcome to my channel, Rahul Desai. We've not done this live stream here in a while, and is hafte because Rahul and I watched these two films that we're going to be talking about back to back together on the same day. We made time in the middle to have one dosa and some idli in the middle of the two films, but it was a very long and a very weird day. So I thought that we should really talk about that day and the things that we do in the name of our profession. Huh? We are film critics. We are important. Sure, we are. Initial thoughts before we get into it, Rahul. How has this week been for you in general?
Yeah, that's a day I'm not going to forget anytime soon. For mixed bunch of reasons. Of course, it was nice that I had company while going through what I did, as you said after the screenings. But it was one of the days where I felt like I was too old to do this. Because we used to do this pre-pandemic quite a bit, two films in
Yes.
one day. I,
Yes.
I don't know what it was. Maybe we are more tired now. Maybe the lives come at us really hard during the pandemic. So it's not the same anymore. So watching two films on the big screen and two terrible films at that of the big screen, going through the whole day, coming back, trying to figure out how you're going to write the, yeah, it didn't feel natural at all.
So let me tell everybody what our schedule was like. We watched first hit the first case at
Yeah,
1 o'clock in the afternoon. I think the
yeah,
screening
two
was
o'clock it started. Hmm.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We watched the film because we were watching both the first case and Shabaash Mithu back to back. We sat down, hit the first case, started playing, and I thought that I was sitting down to watch Shabaash Mithu, and I was like, okay, this sports biopic is starting with a murder. You got me. Let's do this. And then I asked Rahul, are we watching a trailer? He's like, nahi, picture shuru ho gaya, bewkoof.
Yeah, I was
Turns
quite
out it
surprised
was,
by your question.
I really thought we were first watching Shabash Mithu and then going to hit the first
Uh,
case. That's how
that was
fried my brain is. So we finished that film by about 5 o'clock. We finished the film, interval, etc. included. We made time to eat a meal with another friend of ours, and then 6 o'clock we went right back in.
yeah,
Thankfully, the screenings were both happening at the same location, so we didn't really have to travel through the city.
yeah.
So मैंने ना अपनी पीडीएफ जब बनाई थी खूबसूरती से वो मैंने बंद कर दिया तो मैं जरा उसको ढूंढ के एक बार खोल दूं दोबारा और फिर हम उसको शेयर करते हैं ओके
Ah,
सो um this is what we've seen. But aside from Ms. Marvel, which I will talk about in the end with a special guest who's joining us shortly,
hmm.
and Shabash Mithu and hit the first case. What else have we watched this week?
I also watched Jadugar on Netflix.
Oh
Um,
man.
which was basically the hat trick for me this week of bad Hindi films. And that really did me in because that was another almost 3 hour film that too streaming, which was really difficult to get through.
Which is ridiculous because I thought I was excited to see Jitendra Kumar in something else after Panchayat because Panchayat season 2 was
Yeah.
really good.
Same here, same here. I mean, I've never really seen him in a bad film or a bad show so far, and he's always like his natural self. So I didn't think it'd be this bad. Like it was like a total mess. It was confused. It was by the ex TVF guys who founded TVF. They founded their own company now. So this is, I think, the second production after this web series called Home Shanti, which was a couple of months ago. But yeah, just weird. Like it felt like a glorified skit for 3 hours. Did not feel, it felt totally disjointed. They didn't know if they wanted to make a football film or a magic film. So yeah, after well into the second, I had given up like in my head, and it just felt like I was just completing the formalities after that.
Wow. Okay, so fuck it. We're not going to talk
Yeah,
about Jadugar because मैंने देखी भी नहीं है Jadugar, and if going by Rahul's expressions, it's really not something that I'm going to invest 3 hours of
no,
my life
it's
into.
not. No.
So then let's go to oh my goodness. I've again opened the wrong thing यार. मैं इतनी बेवकूफ हूँ.
No, you're still way smarter than me when it comes to this. So.
Arey, no, yaar. I made this beautiful PDF and then because I deleted it because I'm a dumbass.
Oh, that PDF. I love that PDF.
Right? Okay, I'm going to have to find that PDF. Until then, why don't you start talking to us about the first film that we're talking about today, Shabaash Mithu, please?
Oh, we're starting with Shabaash Mithu.
Let's.
Yeah, Shabaash Mithu feels like the millionth Hindi cricket film in the last 1 year. It's going to be followed by many cricket films as well. Taapsee Pannu playing Mithali Raj, who's probably the best. I mean, one of the most notable Indian cricketers we've had in the last 20 years. Yeah, Shabaash Mithu, to be honest, I didn't really expect much going into the film because the trailer pretty much was the film. You know how Hindi film trailers are these days, 3 minutes of it. I don't expect much from biopics, so I tried not to be too cynical while going in. Plus, Srijit Mukherjee's second film in 2 months, and I'm not a big fan of the director. He's made only 2 or 3 Hindi films so far, and I'm counting also the Ray anthology 2 films in that.
Yeah,
I'm not a big
unwatchable. The Ray anthology was just
especially the KK segment in that was just
unwatchable.
So yeah, I wasn't really going in with high expectations, but again, Taapsee has done so many sports films, and she's this go-to star for anything that's for a lot of athlete films. So yeah, but I wasn't disappointed in all the wrong ways when we started watching the film because surprisingly enough, for a cricket film, this is one of the most boring films I've ever watched. And this went on for like a good, 2.5 hours, more than 2.5 hours. And I learned absolutely nothing new about her. And to be fair, I knew quite a bit about her before going in because I have been watching women's cricket for the last few years. But yeah, there's nothing you won't find on a Wikipedia page. And shockingly enough, they have absolutely done away with entire segments of her life. So it's a very convenient, very sort of by the book, safe little biopic that they thought would be commercially viable. But I just thought there was absolutely no redeeming factor in the film.
Like the tagline of the film is the unheard story of the women in blue, and as you can see on the slide, that story remains unheard. I have no idea what that story is. I only know that the canteen in that one moment is a microcosm of India and the various cultures that our cricketers come from, but we already know that. It's lip service at best. I had not watched the trailer because I try to stay away from trailers. The only trailers I watch now seem to be like the biggest films because you can't escape those trailers. They are everywhere. You can't escape them. And if a big trailer is attached to a big like Hollywood movie or other film, whatever I'm watching in the movie theaters, if a trailer is attached to that, I watch that. Mithali's trailer somehow was just not attached to anything that I watched. So I didn't know what this film was going to turn out like. Obviously, you have a certain expectation of what a Taapsee Pannu sports film is going to be like. It's got these beats, which are like a very, very simplistic storytelling beats, which is why when the film opened with a murder scene, I was like, oh yeah, finally, we've got like a murder mystery here. Mithali Raj. No.
That would have been some opening to a sports film to be.
I was very thrilled, dude. I was very thrilled. It was the funnest parts of the film just were the childhood parts because those girls are adorable. And it also tells you the story of how things are ingrained into little girls' mind right when they are girls, and then they learn how to fight. So they have to learn how to fight the patriarchy and sexism when they're like 6 years old and 7 years old. And I thought that was a really nice sentiment and expressed really nicely as well. She has the thapki in her hand, which like they do go overboard with that metaphor. Like it drags on and on for a long time, but it's a nice metaphor. She like does her hair away and she cuts her hair, and everyone knows when a woman decides to cut her hair, her life changes. So she cuts her hair and all of that. But I came back home after watching the film and read up about Mithali Raj because unlike you, I don't follow cricket. I used to back in the day, not anymore. And I have very little information on Mithali Raj except knowing that she's been a prolific run maker and she's been a captain for many, many years. So I came back and I read about it and I was like, so wait, so 2017, where the film's climax takes place, she's already Padma Shri.
She's towards the end of her career. In fact.
Yeah, but IRL, when she went into 2017 World Cup, she was already a Padma Shri. She was already
Yeah,
an Arjuna awardee, which is like the
yeah,
second highest cricketing sports award in the country. And the film completely just refuses to even be on the same wavelength where all of these things are true.
yeah, yeah.
You could have fooled me.
Yeah, yeah. There's no, as I said, there's no sense of time in the film, and that's a big deal. For biopics, the timeline is a big deal. I'm not saying that you need to stick to whatever you know about the athlete or cricketer, but this film is amazing because they presented the 2017 World Cup that you read about as if it is. At the beginning of her career, and she has to basically captain the team to prove herself in the eyes of a nation, and she's making a comeback after being away from the game for a while, which is totally untrue. I mean, I'm fine with things being untrue. You can take your leaps of faith and your creative licenses and all, but you can't jump over an entire career of, say, they basically made us feel like 17 years happened in 1 year.
Yeah.
Right? Like it felt like that. It just felt like she was still at the beginning of her career, and she had to. And this leading India to the World Cup final happened very early in her career. Which and then suddenly during the World Cup, you're hearing that Mithali Raj, the veteran Indian captain, scoring 36 half centuries. I was like, "Ye kab hua?" When did that happen? And when did Taapsee age in the film? Did we see anything about it? She had actually led the Indian cricket team to the World Cup final in 2005 as well, when she was very young. But nothing about that. Such convenient storytelling. And of course, Srijit mentions in his interviews that, they wrote the script and Mithali approved it. I mean, come on, that's no way.
That's not the point. Mithali is not the filmmaker. You are the filmmaker. It's your craft. It's her
anything,
story.
That's a red flag, right? If the person themselves approves it, means, you're really saying nothing new or nothing conflicting about the person, because Mithali went through her fair share of controversies in her career, which would have made for a great film as well.
Which would have made for a better film.
The generational conflict that we see between her and her Indian captain when she comes into the team, she went through the same thing later with a younger player later in her career in the last few years. Nothing about that either. So, it's just such basic and flimsy storytelling. I hate to say it, but I sort of expected it.
Speaking of the age, I could not for the life of me figure out how old Taapsee was at any point, because I went in not knowing anything about Mithali Raj. I did not know that she was training. I didn't know which city she's from, all of that. And I went into like enjoy a sports movie. You first get an idea of how old she is when on the day of India selection, you hear coach talk to her best friend who says that she is now 15 years old. So, okay, so if the best friend is 15 and we saw them together, they were almost the same age. So Mithali is like around 14 years old right now. And Taapsee Pannu in what universe passes off as 14? Like, do some de-aging, na? That technology is now, everybody's using that technology.
Yeah.
I don't know. I assume the film didn't have the budget for it, but if they can make what's her name, Millie Bobby Brown look like she's 7 years old in the new season of Stranger Things, which they did, and very convincingly.
Yeah.
If you're going to cast an actor who's in her 30s to play 14, then cast someone else.
Yeah.
Or cast someone who passes off for 14. I'm pretty sure there are actors who do. I can't off the top of my mind think of them, but I'm pretty sure there are actors who do. Or don't show me that part of her life. Go straight to Mithali, who's already like 83. Doesn't show you Kapil Dev's life.
Right.
I'm not saying that 83 is a wonderful film. 83 also has its issues, but it's a way better film than this. But 83 doesn't go into Kapil Dev's life. It doesn't show us how, because it gives you a glimpse into his background, but it doesn't show you when he was a little, when he first picked up his bat, when he did this and when he did that, when he got into, like, it's not required, because that film straight up is just about the World Cup. Right. And in and out, and that also feels a little bit documentary-ish, but that's a different thing. So that aging problem I was just lost. I was just lost. At one moment, there's a wedding sequence where they go and they try to get this bride to run away from her wedding, and why they were waiting for the night of the Feras, I don't know. There's no reason why they were waiting that very night. Why didn't they go the day before? Why didn't they go the week before? They were waiting for the very night of her wedding so the doula could come out of the toilet and say, you should play after you're married also. So just for that moment. In that moment, she's looking like Taapsee from like Man Marziyan.
Yeah.
She's looking like a movie star Taapsee Pannu that she is. She's got that look. She's got the glam. She's very pretty. And and also so that threw me off again. Hey, how old is she? And then the makeup was just so bad. It was so cakey. The foundation, like, I know they try to pass it off as dirt in many sequences, and the sequences where it is dirt, you can tell it is dirt. But in many sequences, when for a person who wears makeup, men and women, they know the way foundation comes off on your collar. So when you take your clothes off at the end of the day, there's a very particular fashion the foundation kind of comes like on this side of your shirt. So throughout the test sequences, the edit there is, somehow maybe they've removed it in some places they haven't. The foundation's all over her neckline on the white shirt.
Wow.
And it also ages her skin, because makeup ages your skin. In comparison, the rest of the actors who are playing Julan and like a fictional version of everyone else are not wearing makeup, at least not the cakey makeup that Taapsee is. Some of them are not wearing makeup, some of them are wearing makeup, so they look natural and like they're playing in the sun, and the skin is sunburnt and their hair's. But Taapsee, you can see the makeup on her face. It's so jarring. Did that throw you off?
Yeah, one of the many things that threw me off. But again, the physical part of the film was one of my lesser problems, because I just could not get on with. I just felt like at a very basic level, it felt dishonest also, because they were just choosing a bunch of scenes that had that were basically trying to sort of highlight the fact that Taapsee is playing a woman in a man's game, and that's it. Womanhood was the concept. That's it. There was no greater depth to an understanding of how how women tend to think, or if you're an athlete in a game, what you go through on a year-to-year basis. Nothing like that. It was just scene after scene with a hammer on your head. The writing and the directing were just trying to tell us that it is men against women. It is women being ignored because it's a man's game, which is fair enough. We got it right at the beginning of the film, but there is nothing else throughout the film. There are a bunch of scenes that keep driving the same thing home, and the marriage scene is a very bad example exactly of that. Like that's the reason they choose only a wedding, because that's something that that is a very sort of important part of the life, and plus her best friend had sort of gotten married when she was 15. So it was just a bunch of things trying to tie them in. I felt like it was very tokenistic, gimmicky filmmaking. And they could have, for every scene, I could think of at least 5 better options. It was one of those films.
My favorite was when she suddenly starts doing slam poetry.
Oh yeah, because she's apparently Mithali Raj reads a lot of Rumi, which is a very well-known thing, especially when she's going into bat. So she's she's apparently philosophical, and she does it to calm herself down. But the way they weave that into the film is terrible, because at one point it felt like an ad, because she was sort of hitting balls in the nets. She was practicing, and then there's this bunch of Rumi lines happening in the background, and I was like, "Yaar, ye to sneaker ka ad lag raha hai, or bat ka ad lag raha hai."
I mean, the lines are great, they're fantastic, but like to hear them in Mithali Raj's voice, which is Taapsee Pannu doing Mithali Raj's voice, was just weird and jarring. And obviously there is a moment where Srijit Mukherjee decides to play homage to the one and only Richard Linklater.
That was amazing.
Dear viewer, we laughed out loud.
That got me out of the film for a minute, saying, is this real? Because this is like the second film of the day. Maybe I'm hallucinating, maybe I'm not, but naming a British reporter, Richard Linklater, in the middle of a very serious scene where she's giving a press conference.
It was too funny, man.
Yeah, it was amazing. Richard Linklater from the so-and-so paper. And I was like, you're kidding me. No, that's not happening.
I went back and I did a Google search. Is Richard Linklater an actual cricketing journalist? Because I didn't want to be the person who makes fun of something without really... So I did my research, and I couldn't find a Richard Linklater who's a cricketing journalist, and especially somebody who will be in that press conference at the World Cup, somebody who's that high up in the thing. Pramit is saying that we deserve a vacation after watching this week's Hindi reviews, Hindi movies. Yeah, Pramit, I agree. I'm going on vacation next week. So, okay, of these sports movies that Taapsee has done, Surma, Saan Ki Aankh, Rashmi. Surma, she was not the lead. Dosanjh was, but Saan Ki Aankh, Rashmi Rocket, Loop Lapeta perhaps, because she does play a runner. And Shabaash Mithu, which is the least of these evils.
Wow, she's done 5 of them already. It does feel like she's perpetually doing a sports movie, even when she's not. So, I'm not surprised to see so many titles. But of these, apart from, I kind of like Loop Lapeta because it was like technically not a sports movie.
Yeah.
But of these, really, like I feel like between Shabaash Mithu and Rashmi Rocket, I lost my sanity like at some point, because both of them were terrible films. Sandkyak was still fine. It had Bhumi in it also. I thought it was still it had texture to it, and it had more than just sports to it. But yeah,
Surma was terrible also.
Surma was terrible also. Yeah.
Loop Lapeta is my only one, and that's why like I put a question mark there, because I wasn't sure that it qualifies as a sports film, but she is playing a sports person, a retired sports person.
Retired, yeah.
And that's a much more layered and actual, मेहनत करी है उस पिक्चर को लिखने में, बनाने में. थोड़ा over the top चली गई वो मेहनत, तो ज्यादा बह गए उसमें. But it's a much finer film than any of these on this list. Okay, now to wrap up our discussion about Loop Lapeta. How are we feeling about sorry, not Loop Lapeta, Shabaash Mithu. So does Shabaash Mithu work, and how are we feeling about Chak Da Express?
Shabaash Mithu does not work on any level. And I'm about Chak Da Express, which is upcoming sports film starring Anushka Sharma. And incidentally, as one of the players in the same team that Mithali Raj was.
Yeah, they named her Jhorna in this film.
I know. So Jhulan Goswami was Jhorna Ghosh in this film. None of the players were named after the names, except, of course, the person they got the rights to make a film about. But that apart, I'm not feeling very optimistic about Chak Da Express, even though I'm very optimistic about the filmmakers behind it. Proshit Roy is a filmmaker I've been following, and I really liked his first film, and I really liked that he co-directed Patal Lok as well, one of my favorite shows. But from whatever, I mean, again, Anushka Sharma is a hit or miss actress when it comes to a lot of these roles. It's either everything or nothing, and someone doing a Bengali accent, especially a non-Bengali, playing a Bengali athlete, one of the best bowlers in the world, and the best Indian bowler ever, Indian women's bowler ever. I think it might go wrong the same places that Shabaash Mithu does, on a very superficial level, because I don't care how good the writing is. If you're not really convinced while watching the person play the athlete, it can be a problem.
I am all for watching sports films. I really like the genre. I like the beats of the genre as well. If you do something interesting in it, like who doesn't love a fucking underdog story, right? Everybody does. But the last 3 or 4 sports films, cricket films, not sports, cricket films that I've seen have been terrible. 83 was above average, but it didn't blow me away. Jersey was terrible. This one is terrible. And so I'm not feeling very excited about Chak Da Express. But then again, like I went into Juk Juk Jio waiting for it to go wrong, and it never went wrong. It just kept going right, and kept taking the right decisions, and taking the right turns. So, if Chak Da Express does that for me, why the fuck not? Shalmali Das has just reminded us, by the way, that Taapsee was also an ex-hockey player in Man Marziyan.
Of course she was, yeah. So I put that in the same bracket as Loop Lapeta, because she's playing an athlete, but the film is not about not a sports film. But I think that's a success formula for her. She should play athletes, but maybe the film should not be a sports film.
Oh my God, I realize right now why in that wedding sequence she reminded me of Man Marziyan, because Man Marziyan also, she's a sports person who's suddenly dressed up in wedding attire.
A lot of meta stuff going on.
That's the flashback I suddenly got, and I'm realizing it now. That's why. To all the 100 people watching us, 102 people watching us, thank you so much. Please click that like button, because if you click on the thumbs up button, this stream is going to reach everybody, and if it reaches everybody, we'll get more people, and if we get more people, we'll do this more often, because थोड़ा commiserate करना अच्छा लगता है weekends पर. तो अब हम चलते हैं हमारी अगली पेशकश की ओर, and our next पेशकश is Hit.
It's nice that you ended Shabaash Mithu with flashbacks, because flashbacks is such an important part of this film.
Oh my God. You guys, like I said in my review, this movie is literally the film version of Kuch Bhi. It's Kuch Bhi.
Yeah.
Anything is going on. Now, when I realized that the film that I was watching was actually Hit, the first case, I was into it. I was 100% into it, because the fatigue of the day hadn't set in. One.
Yeah, it was the
first film. And 2, it's Raj playing a detective. Amazing. Bring it. Bring me more. It's Sania Malhotra, who Rahul and you and I have discussed is very exciting performers, very
yeah.
exciting actor, especially after Paglet.
Yeah.
We've known that she's capable of carrying a whole film as the center point, as the focal point.
Yeah.
But she vanishes from the movie like first act भी खत्म नहीं हुई है पूरी तरह से और वो गायब हो गई है पिक्चर से. Initial thoughts on Hit, the first case, Rahul.
Hit, the first case, as we know, remake of the Telugu original, which just came out before the pandemic. I haven't seen the original, so I'm going to judge it purely on basis of what I saw. Ridiculous film. If you look at it after you finish watching the film, absolutely ridiculous. One of the worst instances of a whodunit I've seen in Hindi cinema in a while. And this is coming from someone who watched Forensic just a month ago or something, which is on Z5, which stars Vikrant Masse. Forensic was a ridiculous film. This is right up there. But I'm not going to lie. There were parts in this film when I was fairly engaged. Because, with a whodunit, it is just natural, right? It's inherent to
you're
the
also
DNA
playing detective along with the
you're trying to
actors,
figure out saying, क्या ये बोलना क्या चाह रहे हैं यार, किसने किया, अगर इसने नहीं किया तो किसने किया. So obviously the filmmakers already are one step ahead, the writing is one step ahead, and they delight in the fact that they can lead us into directions where we don't expect to see it going. And there were points where I was like, okay, fine, a girl goes missing. Okay, then, but within 1 second, his wife goes missing as well. Because one cut later, I'm like, okay, I'm going to forgive that. Let's carry on.
It's too funny, man.
But man, at such a fundamental level, it started to suck because the craft was just in such a tearing hurry. It was
it was like I said, it was like an Uber driver edited the film.
Yeah,
it's such a rush.
It was. It was not letting me stay in any moment. Sure, I get that the plot is dense. It has a lot to unpack and shit like that. But I get that it's not a slow burning suspense thriller. But you cannot go from scene to scene to scene without even bothering about basic transitions, without bothering to explain to us what happened in 2 years. What happened?
And also nothing gets solved in the scene. He picks up a clue, picks up a hunch, immediately goes to the second clue and second hunch. Nothing, that clue and that hunch in the previous scene has not led anywhere. The second one doesn't lead anywhere. Third, fourth, fifth don't lead anywhere until the seventh one. They all lead to the same point. By which point you're just like, how much of this am I supposed to hold on to and walk with you, man? Don't make me work this much also, and not entertain me. Make me work, but at least keep me engaged. You're just making me work. It feels like an unpaid internship. I'm not interested. Not doing is exploitative. You're exploiting me. It's amazing. The best scene, viewers, in this film is Dilip Tahil. Not the best scene, the best character. Dilip Tahil, who is like the superintendent of some sort, right? He's like the senior cop guy. And his brief from the director was stand there.
Just at the corner of the scene. Just
stand
at the
there.
frame. There.
And just as two people stop talking to each other, come in. He does this, I think, at least 10 times.
Yeah.
He's just standing there and he walks into the frame. And I said this in my review also, that Hit might be slightly better than Forensic because at least Dilip Tahil kept me guessing when he's going to show up.
Yeah, that's true. And at one point I was like, maybe it's a red herring. Maybe the filmmaker wants us to think that, that maybe the chief has something to do with what's happening. Or maybe, it is like everyone's a suspect, right? So how is the chief everywhere? How does he enter every frame?
Yeah,
whenever this guy is having a meltdown, whenever this guy is not having a meltdown, whenever he's breathing, he's always there. So I was like, okay, thoda suspense started, but then that's giving the film too much credit. I think exactly what you said, the brief was stand there.
Stand there.
That's pretty much what it was. Because, spoiler alert, he was not the killer.
He's not the killer. We'll get to who the killer is. But why was this film set in Jaipur? Please explain to me this. Why is this a small town story? But Jaipur is not really a small town. Jaipur is a metropolitan city. So it's not. This film could have been in Mumbai. It could have been in Goa. Could have been in any other city. So explain to me, why is it in Jaipur? And they make such a big deal of it being in Jaipur. All those toll nakas and, going back and forth. Why?
your guess is as good as mine, because I found out the original film is set in Hyderabad, so I don't know why they translated Hyderabad to Jaipur. They could have sort of gone in with even a city for that matter. Even if you don't want to make it a small town film, you can make it a small city film.
Yeah.
There's no big deal about that. But I don't know about Jaipur, except for that one love song where we see the fact that the Sanya Malhotra character and the Raj character are in love with each other, and they've been dating each other, and they're going to all the tourist hotspots in Jaipur.
Like they've just moved to, like she has just moved to Jaipur and he's showing her around or something.
Yeah, no, they've been living there for a while.
Yeah.
And no couple who's been living there for a while just goes to the places we as tourists would go to when we see it.
In one collage.
In one
montage.
And we didn't see those palaces ever again. We didn't see those forts ever again. All we saw after that was police station, house, highway, Tolnaka, dead body, something. That's it. And
ridiculous.
It could have been anywhere.
So the right after this, oh my goodness. Okay. So very quickly into the film, it cuts away to a subplot featuring Milind Gunaji. Great to see Milind Gunaji back on screen. He's a very good actor and really fun to watch.
Yeah.
Cuts to Milind Gunaji. But that Milind Gunaji subplot just goes on and on and on and on. And in that subplot, there are two different characters who drive Volkswagen Beetles, which is like this luxury car. And the people who are driving it are shown to be middle class people, and they're driving these Volkswagen Beetles, but for some fucking reason. And then when it cuts back to Rajkumar Rao, it cuts back with Neha is missing. We don't know where Neha is. And we were like, wait, I thought I was watching a different film. And then it jarringly cuts back to the main plot. And you're like, okay, like, stop fucking around with me. This film was fucking around with us, and it was just fucking around.
Yeah, I would just love to see a documentary on the editing process of this film. It would be a very entertaining, I must say.
Let's talk about the most WDF moments from this film. Look at this poster, okay?
There's a highway in between.
Yeah, I realized this today, that this is a highway. I thought it was a film strip for some reason. मैंने पोस्टर में देख के सोचा था कि ये कुछ मूवीज से रिलेटेड कुछ मिस्ट्री वुस्ट्री होगी, बड़ा मजा आएगा. बट ये हाईवे है और इस पे ये जो Volkswagen Beetle चल रही है, it looks like an actual beetle insect. It's ridiculous. Then why is Rajkumar Rao placed above Sanya Malhotra? Why are their eyes not on the same level? Is there a reason for this ridiculousness?
That's interesting actually, because Sanya Malhotra is not there most of the film, so she's like in his head.
नीचे करो.
नीचे करो. She's in his head most of the film, so I guess.
Look at it, like you can't. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That their eyes are not at the same level, and their nostril, one nostril is above, one nostril is below. It's so stupid.
It is. First time I've seen this poster. Thanks for that. Now I can't get this out of my head.
But this is the poster that's been everywhere, all over the billboards, everything. So what are the most WDF moments from this film? We've already discussed our favorite Dilip Dayal entry moment.
Yeah. Dilip Dayal obviously as a character is WTF. That cut where it goes from one girl called, whoever Preeti is missing, to that cut where, Raj gets a call in his hometown in Himachal Pradesh saying your wife is missing within 1 second was a WTF moment that you have to see to believe it, because we can't explain how it feels, the dissonance between 6 months ago and 6 months later. And of course, she tells him to go to the exact place where his trauma occurred, because that's the way to get over your trauma, to go back to your childhood home where you saw someone killed, one of your family members.
Who you never find out, by the way, till the end of the film, who that person is, what the backstory there is. You're trying to fucking give me a Batman origin story there, keep me guessing till the end. Like, no, that it doesn't work, because at the last moment, they're like, there is more. And then we will find out. In the next film, we will find out that all the clues that you've been dropping about why Raj has this PTSD, we'll find out in the next film. Who has the patience? Who has the patience for that?
And he says "Fir kabhi" when Sanya Malhotra asks him, which is quite something, because that is quite like. And one of my favorite, the worst WTF moments was the twist itself.
Yeah. Okay, let's reveal the twist. Let's reveal what the twist was as our special guest joins us. The twist is the car mechanic who we've seen, not even seen, like one fleeting freaking second where Milind Gunaji has given his scooter for repair in the beginning of the film. The guy who's repaired his scooter is the murderer.
That's quite, and I didn't even know who it was. Like I had to ask everyone around me, saying, "Who's this person? Did we see this person earlier in the film?" No. And of course, then there's a lot more than that because he was hired by someone else, and
Who was he hired by? I don't even remember.
yeah, he was hired by the Raj's best friend who is trying to protect his wife. His wife is actually a lesbian who
Oh
was
yeah.
in love. Of course, you've gone through PTSD yourself because you've forgotten most
I
of it.
forgot the main twist. Oh
How
God, you
can
guys.
you
Oh,
know it? Like,
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Raj's police partner's wife has hired the killer to
yeah.
kill this girl
To
because
actually kidnap this girl.
kidnap the girl
Yeah.
because she was in love with this girl
Hmm.
back when they were in the same orphanage.
Yeah.
And Raj's girlfriend has gone missing because she is investigating the miss. She's a forensic scientist who's investigating the case of that missing girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then Raj's partner's wife has to kidnap Neha's. Oh my god. So
That was
the bad people in this film, y'all, are one man named Fahad
Hmm.
and one woman who's gay.
Yeah.
The queer people and Muslim people are the bad people in this film.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. It's unfortunate we could not reveal the twist in any of our reviews, but the bottom line is that it was quite offensive in
Oh my
many
god.
ways. Yeah.
When that twist was revealed, I was like, what? And Rahul was yelling, cut.
Yeah. It was quite an experience though.
It was bad. It was bad. Now, let's wrap this up
Yeah.
about this movie because this is zyada to hum kya hi bolenge. But I have one more question before we move on to the next one. It is, it doesn't work? That's moot point. But do you think there will be a hit the second case, because this film is obviously not done well? It's not going to make any money because it's terrible. Do you think they're
Yeah.
going to actually give us the sequel which they promised?
I think there might be a streaming sort of sequel or something like that. It may not be in theaters or anything, but I do have a feeling that when this does drop on a streaming platform, quite a few people might watch it because people like whodunits, and no matter how bad they are, even if the last 15 minutes are some of the worst 15 minutes ever, people will still watch this thing. So I have a sneaking suspicion they might be hit the second.
Okay, well, I really truly hope not. I
Yeah.
really truly hope there isn't. We were going to be joined by someone who has now gone missing. She was here and now she's not here because her internet is wonky. But we were Gayle Sequeira was going to join us to talk about Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel का finale हो गया है. मैंने finally देख लिया है. The actual live stream we're going to do tomorrow, which I was going to announce with Gayle, but now Gayle is done dhoga. I don't know where she is. But let's discuss Miss Marvel thoda sa, because okay, you've watched the first 4 episodes. Do you care for spoilers?
No, I don't. I don't think they can be spoilers, so it's fine. Like,
I mean, the only actually, frankly, territory where there can be spoilers are superhero films, because there's like big movie stars and cameos, and
I know about all the
points.
cameos and whatever movie stars and all, and from whatever I watched of the first 4 episodes, I got a fair idea of which direction it's heading.
So you know who the cameo is in Thor: Love and Thunder?
No, in Thor: Love and Thunder, no.
Yeah,
No.
can I tell you?
Sure, I'm not going to be watching.
You're never going to watch that film.
No.
So Thor: Love and Thunder ends with at a place where Thor, who's the god of thunder,
Yeah.
has taken panga with Zeus,
Yeah.
who in this film is played by Russell Crowe. Now, Zeus is a comic version of himself. He's drinking and womanizer, and he's just kind of a joke. And Thor has done panga with him. And then Zeus's son is introduced in the mid-credit scene, who Zeus is going to send to take badla from Thor, Hercules. And in the mid-credit scene, which was the best part about the film, literally like a 30-second clip is the best part about the film, Hercules is played by Brett Goldstein, who's Roy Kent from Ted Lasso.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Roy Kent. Of course, it's Roy Kent. Yeah. That's cool.
It was so cool. I was talking with Gayle and Suchan about this, and I was like, if you'd given me 50 guesses of who Hercules is going to be.
Yeah, I know. And what a way to jump from, like stardom in that lovely little to the Marvel universe, direct.
Correct. Now, I am going to text Gayle and ask her where she is.
I think Wi-Fi issues happening.
Yes, Gayle has not moved into 2022 because she doesn't have Wi-Fi right now for some reason. So first initial thoughts on Miss Marvel. What did you think of the fact that this superhero show exists in the way that it does? Pakistani superhero and all that stuff.
Yeah, no, you know what? Like I started watching it because I was looking for something to watch while eating my meals because I finished MasterChef. I was like, okay, let's watch this Marvel show everyone's talking about, even though I don't watch Marvel films most of the time. But I really, really liked the first two episodes. Like I really liked the setting, the New Jersey setting, the Pakistan, the South Asian community. The fact that it's a superhero film but not a superhero film at the same time. It's about a fangirl basically who just chances upon a superpower. But and the context, a Pakistani partition, so much of that. And I was like, how there is no way, because by then I had already seen that the show is getting panned for the last two episodes or the last three episodes.
Yeah.
I saw it's not getting good reviews. I was like, okay, I want to see how they mess this up, because this is virtually unmessable. Like at this point, the fact that they have put the context of something like the partition into a superhero sort of thing, and I have no idea about Miss Marvel, the comics, and how they've adapted it, what they've done. I loved the actors in it. I loved everything in it for the first 2.5 episodes almost. And then once it started sort of heading into that direction where they move away from New Jersey, and she's being, into Pakistan, basically. That's when I was like, okay, now I see where it's going. And there were problems then. There were fundamental problems with the narrative, which I saw that, I feel like I can almost feel like Marvel is pulling it out of what it was trying to be at that point. But I've not seen the last two episodes, so I'm going to reserve my entire judgment. But I can see where it's going wrong already.
I loved the first two episodes so much because it felt like we were getting a Pakistani version of one character from the X-Men movies, but in a light-hearted, kind of not heavy-handed way. Yeah. Light-handed is like, because we've seen Spider-Man as a young adult learning his powers and the world he occupies and the space he occupies in the world, and it's been very exciting to watch that be rebooted 3 times also, no problem. Exciting, always fun. The first movie with a new actor is always fun, and then some of them work, some of them don't, and that's how it started for me. She's going to a school and there's an empathy involved here, and she's getting these powers, and then her parents are actually, and one Pakistani actor, one Indian actor. Like, these are not people who are American actors doing an Indian or a Pakistani accent. They've actually gone through the trouble of casting the right people. Like, Mohan Kapoor is just perfect casting for that part. He's so cute and he's so good, and such a good casting. It reminded me of Aa Gayi Hamari Friend Aa Gayi. It took me back. Did you ever watch Kim's Convenience on Netflix?
No, I haven't watched it.
So that was a Canadian show. It was made in Canada, but it was about the life of this South Asian family, and the casting was just so good, so on point. And I felt like, great, here we have the answer to our very own. Well, not our very own, because it's India, Pakistan, but whatever. Like, in my eyes, it's all the same. With the right cast, and like, then Farhan Akhtar is going to be in it, Fawad Khan is going to be in it, Mehwish Hayat is going to be in it. Fantastic. And the film also does, like, young youth, the series also does in the initial episodes, the youth culture really well, like how what TikTok is to us, what Instagram is to us, the same way that Heartstopper did it really well, which is also a series on Netflix that did the young people coming of age, and in that show they were also coming out so well, how we're using social media and things like that. And then eventually when it moves to Karachi, and then in Karachi even it moves, Gayle phir se drop ho gayi hai, and when even in Karachi it doesn't just stay at the 1947 partition, it goes back to 1942, and you hear the story of her great grandfather of Kamala's great grandfather, who is Fawad Khan. So Fawad Khan is not a superhero. He's not, whatever. And which I was also like, theek hai, Fawad Khan's a, dramatic actor, and you want to give him that part of playing this great grandfather who has to take his family through the partition, and they're on the India side, and they have to move to the Pakistan side and things. But it just, after a point, I couldn't understand who the show was addressing, because it just kept showing the same scenes of, trains and people throwing bags and harrowing scenes and
Yeah.
harrowing moments, but trying to insert like a superhero angle in there, where like this little girl has these
Yeah.
magical powers. And it's a really beautiful concept, right?
Yeah.
A little girl with with magical powers, also caught in the horror of the
Yeah.
partition and
Mm.
things like that, but it just doesn't execute it
Yeah.
satisfactorily at all.
Yeah, so the show's strength basically becomes its weakness, right? Because the entire thing about the whole context of partition and superheroes, sort of mixing that up, it becomes like, it almost like, whatever little I saw, it felt like South Asian history 101 by the end of it, because you're
Yeah.
showing us the same images. It almost feels like an exoticized version of what we know, which is
Yeah.
basically introducing the West to what India and Pakistan went through, which is
Yeah.
exactly the trap that the first two episodes do not fall into, right?
Yeah.
It's a very natural New Jersey sort of Jersey City sort of living. Even the Eid celebrations there, the community there, none of it felt artificial.
And the vocabulary, the words they use, they're just talking in Urdu, and it's not like someone's commenting on how different their language is. They're just wearing shalwar kameez, they're celebrating Eid, there's a mosque, the sheikh, I forget the
mosque head,
the priest, the preacher, the guy at the mosque says he's like, when the he knows exactly how white people react to their cultures and customs, and it's all very natural, it's all very light-handed, like, let's now see how a little girl develops superpower and then learns her superpowers, and then it becomes so heavy-handed, because she finds out that she is the one who actually had gone back in that moment of the partition and helped her own grandmother escape and go to safety and whatever. It became a little heavy-handed. But having said that, it's still a momentous show in this larger scheme of things, and for representation, because representation matters. And the fact that there is a character here who treats this superhero Miss Marvel bases the color of her skin and her religion, and we've seen Spider-Man also get into the same kind of trouble and be treated in completely different ways in his movies, and he's not treated the same way that these brown actors and characters are treated in this. So that's really fun. So now what we're going to do is make an announcement. And that announcement is that when Gayle Sequeira finally manages to get her internet and life in order, her, Suchin, and I tomorrow are talking with Mohan Kapoor on this channel. Yay!
That's very cool. Even I'll be watching that, because even I'm a big fan of the Mohan Kapoor character. First of all, I was very pleasantly surprised when I saw him on the show, because I didn't know he was going to be in it. And I've been seeing him in Hindi films for the longest time, but it was so good to see him.
Look who's joined us. Look who's managed to enter the 21st century.
I'm so sorry. I'm having a really tough time with my internet. So sorry if I cut out or like disappear midway.
I was just announcing everybody, tomorrow Yumi and Suchin are speaking with Mohan Kapoor. Woo! So everybody who's watching us right now, tomorrow night at 9:45 p.m., eat your dinner, finish your work, be free for like 30-40 minutes. The three of us are going to be totally fangirling and boying over Mohan Kapoor and his character Yusuf, right? That's the name of the character, Yusuf Khan. From Miss Marvel, he's going to be giving us some behind the scenes stories, red carpet stories. I asked him if he knows Aryan Moayed, by the way. Aryan Moayed is one who plays Stewie in Succession and the lawyer in that Anna show, and I think he's fantastic, and he's also in the Marvel movies. He says, no, I just met him on the red carpet. So I was like, okay, fine, just tell us stories, okay? So tomorrow at 9:45 p.m, everybody who's watching, please subscribe kar lijiye channel ko. Thank you so much, everyone who's here, who's watching us. We have over 100 people. Nidhi Bhatia says, my legit first thought when y'all were talking about the show was, I hope we can speak with Mohan Kapoor, Lord. Yes, we are speaking with Mohan Kapoor tomorrow. So please subscribe to the channel tomorrow at 9:45 p.m. We're going to be doing a live stream, okay? So y'all can also ask him questions. It's going to be live. We're not doing recording and editing and putting it up later. Going to be live. Like this stream so more people will know about this. Gayle, thoughts on Miss Marvel? Quickly, we're going to do this because detail mein hum kal baat karenge.
Okay, great. So I came to Miss Marvel pretty late. I think 2 or 3 episodes were already out and everyone was talking about it. And I was cynical because at that point I'd hit peak MCU fatigue. But yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes, instantly fell in love with the show. The way it's visually distinct from the rest of the MCU. I mean, it opens with the whole a stop motion animation video of the whole endgame battle, and it's a testament to how vibrant the animation is and how great Iman Velani is as
So
Kamala.
good. So good.
Yeah, that
And I
whole
love that
voiceover
she has
makes
a
the scene.
teenager's body. She's a teenage girl with a
Yeah,
teenager's
yeah.
body. I
Yeah, for
really
sure.
like that.
So her voiceover just makes a scene that we've seen and seen gifed 1,000 times so interesting and so fresh all over again. To me, the thing that I most loved about the first 2 episodes was the fact that it really speaks to fandom before it became this whole corporate driven culture. It just really speaks to fan art and fan fiction and things created out of love and not for profit. And it dropped the same week as The Boys, which is a show about how celebrity worship is hollow and meaningless. And as much as I love The Boys, I really love how Miss Marvel speaks to how a rich fantasy life is worth having. So yeah, these were the things that I really initially loved about the show.
And what is it that did not work about the show? Because it does take a turn towards
Yeah.
a little messy towards the end.
Yeah, so for me, episodes 3 and 4 get a little messy, where there's a whole lot of exposition. The vibrant visual style where you see Kamala imagining things, doodling, that sort of disappears.
It
And
disappears.
then,
It goes away completely.
yeah, the visual storytelling just becomes so much more flat and bland.
Yeah.
And for me, the villains didn't work. Did they work for you?
No, Najma does. It's just the
Yeah.
stakes are just not high enough with her.
So the thing that I initially loved about the first 2 episodes were that the stakes were so low. Like we've seen end of the world narratives so many times.
But then
Like
it
here,
quickly
it's just
jumps
a
into
girl.
end of the world. It
Yeah,
straight up
so
jumps into end of the world.
So for me, just the first episode where she wants to go to AvengerCon and her parents are saying no. To me, that the stakes were low initially. I was very invested.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it jumps to end of the world stuff, we've seen that so many times before. And yeah, the villains again recurring Marvel problem.
Yeah.
I thought they fixed this initially when the first batch of shows started coming out. Their whole disposable villain problem, because you had Agatha from WandaVision who they kept alive. They kept alive Zemo, and like we might see him again in the Thunderbolts movie. Loki, of course, is still there. But then I feel like after that, once again, they went back to the disposable villain thing all over again.
Najma just comes and goes, doesn't leave any impact. I'm not scared of her. I don't fully understand what her superpower is. Because, you know, the thing about superhero movies is that they touch upon the horror genre a little bit, where the antagonist is just too big to defeat. One person by themselves with the powers that they have cannot defeat the antagonist unless they make a team or a plan which is going to trick the antagonist in some way so that they can. It's never a battle of the equals, and if it is a battle of the equals, then it is like Captain America and Iron Man. It's never a, like, Thanos is not an equal. But Najma, who's a jinn, you know, from, she's a,
clandestine,
the clandestines. So
very clunky name for a villain. I know it's from the comics, but
like her, I don't know what her powers are. I don't know what her deal is. I don't know what she wants, where she's from, where she wants to go. So when that fight is happening, where Farhan Akhtar, spoiler alert, gets murdered, you're like,
yeah. Also, something as simple as, you know, when the clandestines are sort of introduced, I think in the third episode, like Najma, obviously we see at the end of the second episode saying, you know, and they're introduced at this as this group, and they are good in the first scene, right? They rescued her. They are explaining their existence to you know, the Iman's character, and then within one scene, because, you know, she's like, I need my time, I need to take time to sort of figure out if I want to do this, they become bad in one scene. Like they just crash the wedding, and it's all downhill after that.
And it makes no sense to me, because they've waited centuries for the bangle. Just give the teenager another week to sort her shit out.
Yeah,
it's just time, like 1 week.
Yeah,
she's like, I have found my people, I have found my community, I am a jinn, this is where I come from, all my questions are going to be answered. Cut to, they crash the wedding and they're like, oh, I have to kill them now. Or defeat them, or they will kill us. I was really hoping for, like, I was, before you joined, Gayle, I was saying I was really hoping for like a Spider-Man-esque story where this young kid finds their powers, figures out and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, right? I'm talking about the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, that they figure out what the powers mean to them in their personal relationships with people, and the show does go there, like with Bruno and with Nakia and her own parents. Like, I love my most favorite other parents, right? Amazing, excellent casting, and just like a really sweet. It reminded me of Kim's Convenience, where you see a Korean family actually, the dynamics of that family and their religion and their culture living in Canada. So this would have been a Pakistani family, their dynamics with each other living in New Jersey. But
So
then,
for me, the scene where you mentioned how her powers relate to her relationships, for me, the scene in which the mom, Muniba discovers that her kid is Nightlight,
very
that just didn't
thanda.
work for me.
It was very
Yeah,
thanda.
it's supposed to be this big emotional moment. You've been telling your daughter to write her own story all along. You see
Yeah.
that your daughter is the person that you might have doubts about as a superhero
And
figure, and
not
it's
just
just
not just because
underplayed.
it's a Pakistani show and it's thing. I was also very happy in the first couple of episodes because it's a show about women. They're all
Hmm.
women. She doesn't get the power from her Fawad Khan. She gets the power from Mahwish Hayat. She gets it from her nani, great grand nanny, great grandmother, then grandmother. Muniba knows that there's magic that runs in the family, and she's trying to shield her daughter from it, and then she gets it. So it's a story of women. It's matriarchs running the family and the power, and Mohan Kapoor is like the sweet man, and her brother also. You feel like, okay, he's kind of like patriarchal, and he's telling her not to do things, and then he also turns around great. But that also like didn't really feel as important going forward in the stories as it could have. But having said that, it's still a very important show, I think, because it's mainstream. It features a great soundtrack from Pakistani musicians, Indian musicians as well. Pasudi is in there, and Ritviz's songs are in there, and it's just really fun to see that play out on Disney Plus Hotstar. In a random episode, Ritviz ka gana chal raha hai, Pasudi chal raha hai. It's really, really nice. That song from The Sky is Pink, wo chal raha hai. So it does fill my heart with a lot of warmth at the end of the day. I did not like the story, where the story went. But aside from that, I have a very warm feeling towards this show.
And I think they managed to retain that in the finale, even though it gets messy. And like, I won't spoil this for you, Rahul. It gets messy.
Rahul doesn't
It
care. He's
sort of
already given me the go ahead.
it sort of bucks to MCU conventions where you have this like long drawn out CGI battle that just didn't work for me. But what I like is that they managed to sneak in those quiet emotional moments, like
Yeah.
Kamala finding out why she getting her superhero name, finding out that she's
Yeah.
their
That
little
was
Miss
so
Marvel.
nice. Again, that's what I want to talk to Mohan Kapoor about, that moment where the series ends. The series ends with him and Kamala sitting there and explaining to her, Rahul, that why, because it's jarring to hear Kamala, 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 because the name is Kamala,
Yeah.
but like Kamala, 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 and then he explains to her that it comes from the word Kamal, because we were trying to have a child for a long time and we didn't have a child for a long time, and you were a miracle, and Kamal really means marvel, and she's like, my name, because she's like, is this Captain Marvel fan? She's like, my name is Marvel, and he's like, I don't know what that means to you, but yeah, it is. That's what it means in Urdu. And then that's where the series ends. And I thought that was such a special moment. And they're sitting outside her window, overlooking just the street and things, and then she just runs away and he just looks at her and says magic. So good. It gave me, like, I'm talking about it, is giving me goosebumps, because I really like a good father-daughter moment. I really like a tender father-daughter moment on screen. What did you think about that cameo in the end, that appearance in the end?
I mean, we all knew it was coming.
I didn't know Brie Larson was going to show up.
I mean, come on. She's been teased as being like a Captain Marvel fangirl all along. And it's the MCU. We will have a crossover at some point.
So what's happening? Is she shape-shifting to become Miss Marvel, or is that actually Miss Marvel?
I think they've swapped places. I think that's what it is.
Kamala is going to be in the Marvels now.
Yeah.
That's what it says. Very exciting. All right. So everybody who's watching us, please do join us at 9:45 p.m. tomorrow. We're talking to Mohan Kapoor. There's going to be more spoilers, behind the scenes stories. I'm so excited to hear everything. He doesn't have any scenes with Fawad Khan or Aryan Moyad, unfortunately. Otherwise, he would have given us those stories as well, but he doesn't. Everyone who's watching us, please click that like button, because if you click the like button, more people are going to be able to see this stream and then come tomorrow. Avneet says definitely these two were swapped. Nidhi Bhatia says she gets the costume from her mother, the mask from Bruno, and the name from her father. That moment I realized that my heart was fully melted and gone. I agree with you, Nidhi. I do agree.
She also gets the blue tunic from Farhan Akhtar's character. So it's a really nice sort of assembly of all of the people that have helped her along her journey.
Can
That's
I
one thing
say
that
I
really
didn't
like.
like Farhan Akhtar in that episode?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
They underutilized him.
They
Very
made
But I
him
mean-
do these very weird lines.
Yeah, very weird. Very weird. He speaks like what, Westerners think we speak like.
Indians speak like.
And that's
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, Farhan, you're a good actor. What?
Yeah, no,
What is happening?
not good.
He's
No,
a
but
good
at a
actor.
time when like people find themselves locked into Marvel contracts for like decades, I just appreciate the fact that he showed
Just
up,
came
got
and
his
went.
bag, and then left. Like, props to him.
Fahad also showed up,
Hmm.
did one episode, and then that's it, which was a very long episode, which I did not enjoy very much. Ravi Kumar is saying, speak about the Ponyan Selvan teaser. No, we will not right now. Mohammad Masoom Rana Diwan says, sorry, Jin, Noor, Kree, Mutant, Inhuman, something to do with the 10 rings was unnecessary. It doesn't matter. Pick a lane and move on. Jayesh, it's not my birthday today. Thank you. My birthday is next week. But thank you. I will take it. Parting thoughts, people, before we prepare for tomorrow. So I'm so excited for tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I just wish they'd kept it to this smaller, more intimate story instead of introducing the multiverse and getting those villains. Even the villains by the end, like they deal with them in episode 5. So in episode 6, they're like desperately searching for another villain who shows up in the form of that lady. The CIA lady, which again
Yeah.
didn't work for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, like love the whole family angle. Like Muniba as a mom, some of the things that
I
she
want
said
to see
are things
more. I
that
want to see
my
more of
mom says.
Muniba. Muniba and Nani's
Yeah.
scenes are so good. They were
They
seriously
really
really good.
nail the whole specificity of the family and that dynamic and all of it. I just wish that the larger things had been handled better.
Rahul, parting thoughts on the week that has been, everything this week.
So, week that has been, let's forget about, because Miss Marvel sounds like more fun to talk about right now. But
It is.
yeah, just as Gayle said, that transition from the fan culture to the actual Marvel universe was really clunky, whatever I've seen so far. I'm looking forward to finishing the series and watching the next few episodes, spoilers aside. But yeah, as you said, I got a very warm feeling. Even though I hated the 4th episode, I've still gotten like quite a nice feeling from the entire thing that I've seen so far. It's representation. It's a bunch of things that I didn't see, that I didn't expect to see on an international platform. And for that itself, I think it's a small victory.
It is 9:45 p.m. tomorrow. We're talking to Mohan Kapoor about the show, and it's going to be a live stream, so you all can ask questions. Anyone who's watching us, you join us tomorrow. You can ask questions, and because Suchin and Gayle are going to be here, I will leave them to talk to Mohan for a little bit while I go through your questions and pick up your questions to actually ask him. Thank you so much, the two of you, for joining me today. मुझे बड़े मजे आते हैं सारी चीजें करने में, and hopefully one day we will get a sponsor for this show, so I can pay you for your time. Right now, I'm just making you do free labor. So thank you for free labor, Gayle. And thank you for free labor, Rahul.
Yeah, not at all labor,
Thanks for
but
having
thank
us.
you. Yeah,
Yeah,
Maze,
not
na?
labor at all. It's great
good
fun.
fun.
Okay, please, somebody give me money to